Hi, I'm Magda, and since 2018, I have prepared hundreds of soldiers for the NATO exams. And today I wanted to share with you a few tips on how to upgrade from level 2 to level 3, which is a question that a lot of students of mine have asked me. Or you might be one of those people who have just passed the level 2 and you're asking yourself, okay, and now what? How do I start the preparation for the level 3, which is the ultimate goal for a lot of people? So let me give you a few tips. First of all, give yourself some time. Okay, this is like an extra tip before I get to the actual tips. Give yourself some time, at least a year, because the jump between the level 2 and the level 3 is a big one. So don't expect that a few months after passing the level 2, you will be ready for the level 3 because, well, let's say that it's not impossible, but it's really hard to achieve. I can imagine some situations if somebody is fully immersed in the language for a few months, which might be the case, that can be possible. But for most of us who are not working daily in the international environment, who need to look for those opportunities to use English, that's not the reality. So let's be real, it's going to take some time. I want you to think of it as if it was a marathon, not a race. Okay, so it's going to take some time. Accept it. All right, so actually tip number 1 is to start exploring new topics, because level 2 topics and level 3 topics will be quite different. So you'll not be asked about, although still you'll be asked about some level 2 questions at the level 3 exam, but you also need to explore the new area of topics, such as geopolitics, such as military technology, NATO, and so on and so forth. So my tip is to do something that I've been doing for years with my students, and that is to prepare a weekly geopolitical roundup. So select a piece of news from your country, from Europe, and one that comes from the world, and try to pay attention to the vocabulary used in that piece, analyze this article or this podcast, because the 3 formats that I would recommend, first of all, articles, second of all, podcasts, third, news, okay, pieces of news. So you can start with that, starting building this knowledge base, but also vocabulary base, and starting to get more comfortable around level 3 topics, which is something that you'll need. Number 2 is to start getting familiar with the level 3 requirements and the exam format. It might be significantly different from the level 2 format. In some countries, it's very different. For example, in Poland, there are some new tasks that you need to carry out. In some countries, just the level of difficulty will be higher, but the format will be quite similar. So first of all, you need to get familiar with that. You need to know what you're preparing for, and then start adapting the preparation. In the description of the video, you will find some links to the level 3 materials that I have created. So I think it's also a good starting point to start doing this type of tests. I'm also working on the platform with the materials, which will be available soon, where you'll be able to access specific level materials. Okay, number 3 is to gradually start introducing some English routines into your life. You need to give yourself the maximum of opportunities to use the language on a daily basis, which means that we need to create those opportunities, this environment, immersion. Okay, you need to immerse yourself in the language as much as possible, which is not that easy, but with the access to the materials, technology that we have nowadays, possible. Tip number 4 is to join a study group. I have recently finished the international group course that I run 3 times a year. The next course starts in May, and it's an intense one. And group participants who took part in it, most of them were the profile of a person who have just finished the level 2, or they're thinking about the level 3 in the future, and they wanted to know what is it all about. Some of them will be taking the exam next year. Some of them are taking the exam already this year. So depending on what is your situation, you might want to join a course. And I think the great benefit of an international group is the cultural exchange that you have while you join such group. So it's not just the one-to-one benefits that obviously there are fantastic benefits of the one-to-one approach, but also being a member of a group and sharing the same goal is really motivating for all the group members. And it's sometimes easier to maintain this motivation rather than just working with the teacher one-to-one. And the last tip that I have for you, tip number 5, is actually something that I was asked recently by one of my students, how to start thinking in English. And honestly, it's not as easy as it seems. It's hard to tell when exactly is this moment. Those of you who have worked in an international environment or live abroad, you know what I'm talking about, that it's hard to define when this moment started for you. It's hard for me to tell when it started for me in Spanish, or even in what language I dream. No idea, to be honest. But one of the ways in which you can push a little bit this situation of processing information in English and thinking in English is doing a course in English. And I'm not talking about the language course. I'm talking about a content course. So learn something, but in English. For example, course on economy or geopolitics in English. Okay, this way you'll be processing the information, you will be learning new information in English. This is the easiest way to reprogram your brain to start thinking in English. So I encourage you to give it a try. There are a lot of course platforms that you can use. A lot of the courses are for free, like on Coursera, Udemy. Give them a try and try to find something that you're truly interested in. And it doesn't have to be something as serious as economy or geopolitics. It can be a course related to lifestyle as well. Like that's also perfectly fine, but start stimulating your brain in order to start thinking in English. So these are my 5 tips. This is where I would start if I had to departure from the point of the level 2, and my goal would be level 3, and I would like to get closer and closer to my goal. Okay, 5 tips. I hope it was useful, and I will see you soon in the next video. Bye.